The DCV Titan with the two Canadians says Disney went years pegging Star Wars and Marvel fans.
Ooh,
No
that
loot.
did happen. Yikes. Okay, let's talk about the pegging. Here we go. Well, they definitely tried to peg Gina Carano, and it didn't quite work out. So this is the article here from that Park Place. After filing lawsuit against Disney, Gina Carano promises that she has even more evidence, details how she was harassed and stalked. And I guess I should be starting this by reading out her own statement on X. So let me pull that up here, because this is how I found out about it on X, and quite similarly, this is how she found out she was fired on X. Well, that was Twitter, when it was known as Twitter. She writes, "Today is an important day for me. I'm filing a lawsuit against Lucasfilm and Disney. After my 20 years of building a career from scratch and during the regime of former Disney CEO Bob Chapek, Lucasfilm made this statement on Twitter, terminating me from The Mandalorian. Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilm, and there is no plan for her to be in the future. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable." We all know this is all BS.
Yes.
And it could not be further from the truth. Nothing could be further from the truth. Yes, I just said that. The truth is, I was being hunted down from everything I posted to every post I liked because I was not in line with the acceptable narrative of the time. My words were consistently twisted, demonized, and dehumanized me as an alt-right wing extremist. It was a bullying smear campaign aimed at silencing and destroying and making an example out of me.
Yes.
The thing is, I never used aggressive language. I shared thought-provoking quotes, pictures, memes, and occasionally I used my own words, not with aggression, but with respect and an occasional comedy to keep the mood light in dark times. Look with your own eyes at what I posted and ask yourself, for example, where did I compare Republicans to Jewish people in the Holocaust? I didn't. Ask yourself why they were calling me a racist. Was there any merit behind that or history of it whatsoever? No. Look at why I was called a transphobe. For making droid noises from Star Wars, beep bop boop, was obviously directed to the online bullies and did not in any way denigrate transgender people. Were my questions about masks, lockdown, and forced vaccines okay to ask and push the subject into light? Should we have been allowed to publicly discuss those topics at that time without being harassed or censored? Absolutely. Hollywood says that they support female representation and equal rights. Why then were my male co-stars permitted to speak without harassment and re-education courses or termination, but I was not afforded the same right to exercise my freedom of speech? And for those of you who don't know, I think this is referring to Pedro Pascal's post about the whole
100%.
mega conservative situation.
Yes, Pedro, and then Mark Hamill as well.
Oh yeah, that's right, Mark Hamill as well. Okay, so that's that. Artists do not sign away our rights as American citizens when we enter into employment. I have spoken to all my co-stars since I was fired, and there is nothing but care and kind words between us. I respect their right to free speech and do not have to think the same on every issue to be their friend and work with them. And I know they feel the same towards me. A couple months ago, Elon Musk tweeted that if you had been fired from using the X platform for Twitter, for exercising your right to free speech, he would like to offer these people the legal representation. We have one of those people on the panel right now. Carolyn was offered that same deal. Quite the noble offer, but never in my wildest dream would I have thought anyone would take on my case against Lucasfilm and Disney. Still, I did respond back. I think I qualify. Thousands of people agreed, but I did not expect anything. To my surprise, a few months ago, I received an email from a lawyer who had been hired by X to look into my story, and many others. Turns out, after sending them much information as I could gather these past few months, my now lawyer and X believe wholeheartedly in my case and are moving forward. I would like to express my deepest gratitude and thank you to Elon Musk and X for giving me the opportunity to bring my case to light. As for me, I would love to pick up where I left off and continue my journey of creating and participating in storytelling, which is my utmost passion, everything I work so hard for. Now, I do have some thoughts on this because a lot of people were kind of saying that she wants to go back to Disney. I don't think that's true. It has been difficult to move forward with the lies and labels stuck on me, backed and encouraged by the most powerful entertainment company in the world. I'm grateful someone has come to my defense in such a powerful way, and look forward to clearing my name. Thank you all, the people who have supported me and made your voices heard. I pray God bless each and every one of you. With love, Gina Carano. Inquiries, contact this email. So there you go. And we also have another special guest joining us here who is very familiar with the law. Here he is, Legal Mindset. Hello.
I mean, all I was told is 4 ladies are waiting for you. So I mean, that's really what I showed up for. Five. So you know, I mean,
there's more than there's more
sorry,
than
I don't math so good. That's why I'm a lawyer. Come on, you know that.
Hi, Andrew.
Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well.
Wow, we're doing just fine. Doing better now that you're on the show. Hello,
oh, Nina. Listen,
we all went silent because the guy's here. Like, oh,
Andrew, tell us, do you think Gina has a case?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been overquoted as saying it's a slam dunk, but actually, all I'm saying is this case. What does a win look like in this case? And I think all of you guys, everybody who's on the stream, you know, I know like Nina, Force of Light, Carrie, Kara, Steph, you guys have all been paying attention to Disney and you all have known what's going on with Disney. And anybody who knows and has even a small amount followed Disney over the past 2 years has known that a lot of stuff is going on that shouldn't be going on. And there's definitely a lot of emails and calls and texts saying stuff that is probably pretty nasty about Gina. And we haven't uncovered any of that. So the win in this case is not necessarily to win a jury trial, but is to go through the process of discovery, which is getting subpoenas, getting those emails, getting those phone calls, getting those text messages, getting those Twitter DMs, which are not yet doxed, but they will be exposed to the world through this lawsuit, getting all of that and validating us when people thought we were deranged and going after KK and, you know, saying all this stuff like we're crazy, right? And then seeing, no, actually, we were entirely right the entire time, right? Because we already know there's the email that wasn't supposed to go to Gina that did go to Gina. That's actually not in the complaint. But all of that is going to come out through the process of discovery in this case, which all she has to do is survive a motion to dismiss. All she has to do is for the judge to say this is a valid claim. That's it.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nina.
Do you think it's going to be a public trial? Can we watch it?
No, you cannot watch it. It's a federal trial.
Oh, no. That sucks.
And also, it's a Cali trial. So even if it was even if it was state level, they have all these laws in California regarding the images of celebrities and also the bullshit, which Frank, once again, I don't believe in this. This is why Florida has transparency, sunshine laws, which say no matter who you are, no matter what you are, no matter whether you're famous or not, this is about transparency and sunshine, right? We call it sunshine laws, right? So everything is exposed, everything is public. So California doesn't like that. They like to protect their Hollywood bros. Right. So they keep their image.
I'm sorry, you said she has to survive what?
What's called a motion to dismiss. So in a case, right, you have your legal case, right? The step one is somebody sues somebody, meaning they file what's called a complaint. A complaint is actually comes back from the word literally complaining, right? Here's what I am complaining about, right? This is the wrong that you caused. Now, of course, anybody can file a complaint for any reason whatsoever. In fact, I could just say, I don't like Nina because she's a meanie, stinky, poopy face, right? And that could be what I file with the court.
I'm suing you for defaming me, you son of a bitch.
Right. Well, that's an actual cause of action, right? But what I'm saying is you don't have to even do that. You can just turn something in and file it with the court.
And that would be a countersuit too.
That would be, you could countersue. Thank you, Tom. My paralegal, Tom.
I'm like his helper.
Let me ask you, in
so-
comparison to I have just a quick question about the
Mhm.
defamation. Do you think she has a legitimate claim in that them saying falsely that she disparaged people because of their culture and their religion, that prevented her, that she can prove that prevented her from getting future work at other places in the similar fashion, in a similar way to Johnny Depp saying, Amber Heard's defamation caused me to lose roles. Do you think are those two things similar?
It would have been, except for this is actually not a defamation claim. So this is actually, and this is where a lot of people that haven't looked at the complaint, that just read the tweet, they assume it's a defamation claim. I think Nick made this mistake the other day, which is understandable, because most people just reading it, having done Johnny Depp, would just run into defamation. But if you scroll down on this and you go to the causes of action, you can actually see the cause of action are 3. 2 of them are for essentially wrongful discharge, which is like wrongful termination. And then 1 is for sex discrimination. So this is not, and these are all under California labor law. So this is not a defamation claim. That is probably because the statute of limitations has likely run on a defamation claim, because there's a 1-year statute of limitations on intentional torts, and defamation is an intentional tort. Now, what can happen is, as part of this case, if new information is discovered that is defamatory, that could be added on because it's newly discovered, that wouldn't trigger the statute of limitations. So since she just discovered it, she could sue on that, right? But because these tweets are old, right, they're beyond the limit at which she could do that, but they're not beyond the labor law. And the thing is, the labor law, this is where Gina wins. And there was a California lawyer that I referenced the other day who said it very clearly. These California labor laws are very, very, very strict. And if you just meet the criteria, you're guilty. It's kind of like boom, boom, you've committed this, right? So if you've done X, if you've done Y, then you are guilty, right? Then you are responsible. This is of course a civil claim. Talking about the job, getting the job back, Nina, I think you mentioned that right before I got on. That's actually part of the labor law. The labor law itself says that they're entitled to a restoration of their job. So she's actually not that asking for that. It's not Gina like being sassy. It's not Gina with some like secret agenda.
Okay.
It's literally just what the law says you do.
Right. Okay. I was actually wondering about that, because I was like, she's happier without that job. So why would her?
So it's just
case be
basically
wanting
I guess it's just the law is saying like you're entitled to your job back if they find that like basically they wrongfully dismissed you, but that would be a personal decision for her if she wants to take that job back or not at that point.
Correct. I'm going to show the tab here real quick so you guys can see it. So this is for example one of the 3 claims, right? The wrongful claim for relief under the California Labor Code. So once again, we're not dealing with my highlighting skills today are on point. I have not had my breakfast. So this right here is the labor code, one of them. And then you see here, this is the law. So they're quoting the law here. The law says right here that anybody who is wronged under this law, so any employee, right? So anyone who is discharged, threatened, demoted, suspended, retaliated against. Retaliated is a broad term. So that can include, by the way, threatened with discharge. She was threatened multiple times, not just over the Nazi thing, but over COVID, right? Over voting.
Yeah, and over the beep bop boop thing.
Beep bop boop, yes, over all of these things. And look what it says here: shall be entitled, right? So it's not a maybe, it's a shall be. This is what really screws Disney, is because this is like, if this is true, this shall be, right? Shall happen. You must be reinstated and give reimbursement. Right. Now,
it's interesting how the news articles are wording it, because they're saying like Gina is suing Lucasfilm and she wants her job back.
Well, I mean, she's asking for it, but it's not, the thing is, that's part of the statute, right? So it's kind of overplayed that this is what Gina actually wants, right?
Yeah, that's what they're saying, that like she wants her job back. It's like, I don't know if she does. But
that's why it's one of those really good situations to read past the headline.
Yeah.
And actually go into the documents like this and see what is actually being asked for.
And,
Right. And that-
I
and
have
that's
another
where it really
question.
differs a lot. That's where it really differs a lot. Let me show you this one. This is from the first part of the labor code. This is the real one where Disney is screwed. No employer shall make, adopt, enforce, right, or have any other policy, regulation, rule, or policy controlling, directing, or tending to control, not even actually controlling, like that might seem to direct the political activities or affiliations of employees.
Wow.
So by trying to coerce her into a struggle session with 45 Disney employees over pronouns, that is definitely tending to control or direct, right? They're trying to change her political belief, because the belief in pronouns is a political belief, right? As much as they want to make it sound like it's natural law or it's something that's been around forever, it's not. In fact, it's a highly offensive thing to many people who are of certain religious backgrounds, certain ethnic backgrounds.
It's
highly offensive.
It's like Maoism. Like they really want to just send her in there and reprogram her and have her come out saying what they wanted her to say.
Yeah, the
Can I
wrong
just
thing,
say-
like re-education camp.
Yes.
That's exactly
I'm going
what
to
it is.
be following this very closely because I would like to see what could be possible for me.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
There's a lot of folks here that, and what I said, this is the tip of the iceberg, because Disney had that inclusion matrix, which we saw with ABC, and now we're seeing Amazon has adopted, and I've got to cover that one. There's so much to cover.
Roseanne Barr
Like,
wants to sue now
She
too,
wants
because
to
they
sue
got
now
let go
too,
from
yeah.
ABC.
Yeah.
And
She's like, hello.
They all
So,
should
yeah,
come in
hello.
as long as they can, as long as it's under the statute of limitations, they should come in and sue. And I think this labor law really provides a window, and the opportunity here is this is in federal court, so they don't have to deal with a California judge, because I know a lot of Californians that said, look, we understand this law exists and we understand the law is written neutrally, but the reality in California is this has been enforced against conservatives and never against liberals.
Yes.
So they never will ever enforce this against a liberal in the state court, but this is in federal court.
Well, and
So-
that's I guess that's what my
that's
question
interesting.
was too, Andrew, because like in terms of like where, like, because this is like a California thing that, you know, started in California with Disney and everything. I've heard that there's a law where any company in California has a right to basically fire whoever they want at any point in time if they see that they're kind of like misusing, like they like basically if they deem them to be wrong thing, they have the right to fire them. Like
That- I
See,
mean-
in
that's what
layman's terms.
people are saying to me, though, because I'm in I think it's called like an at-will state or something for North
something like
Carolina.
that.
Most states are, so the default is at will, right? And at will is literally the default. So you can fire anybody for any reason whatsoever. However, that is the default in all states, right? However, some states have adopted a higher standard, and some states have also adopted higher standards of what's impermissible. Now, in no state can you fire someone and say, hey, Kara's a woman, she's get fired because she's a woman, right? That's illegal in all states, because you can't fire somebody for a protected characteristic, right? So you
Sure.
can't say she's a woman, she's, old, right?
Yeah,
like none of those things.
ageism,
Ageism is a
sexism, yeah.
thing, right?
Mhm.
She, she's redheaded, so maybe she's questionably Irish. I don't like the Irish.
Maybe she
They're
doesn't have a
untrustworthy,
soul.
right?
Yeah,
She doesn't have a soul, right? Let's fire her for that.
Mhm.
I can't do that. Like, that's
Too
not
many
permissible.
Pikachus. Get her out of here.
I did not say any of these things.
Yeah, one too
Shame
many
my
of them yellow
Pikachus.
critters. Just let
Bring them
folks
into
back
this.
down.
Leave my Pikachu alone.
Yeah.
She's trying
Um,
to turn everyone Pika Pika.
No, but so Andrew, you might. I
Yeah,
mean,
sure.
obviously, this is.
I had a point with that. I forgot it though.
I would just.
You were
I
talking
might
about
be
at
interested
will.
in chatting with you about
go
that
ahead.
at some point.
Yes.
Just to pick your brain because
Holler
I
at
mean,
me, girl.
Elon. Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Oh,
Now, Andrew,
but-
did you answer the question? I'm sorry. Did I miss it? Like, what does she have to?
Oh, sorry. So,
Yeah.
the answer to the question is, look, there's at will, right? But there's also the law can set a higher bar, which raises the floor. So now the floor is raised. So California decided to not just raise it to protected characteristics, but raise it above that by adding in political activity. So they raise the floor, and no law, once you establish a law, you can't go below that floor. So even though there's another law that says you can be fired for quote unquote anything, that can't go below the labor law that says this, right? So this labor law sets this floor that you can't go below,
Mhm.
right? You can fire him for any other reason. So I could fire Kara because, I just don't like her quality of work. But the problem is that nowadays everyone will say, well, you're saying you're firing me for work, but you're really firing me because I'm a woman, right?
Yes.
Right. That's the debate, is that anybody who's got one of these tags on them is just going to claim that. And because of the length of these processes, because it gets dragged out, because there's a huge incentive to show discrimination so these people can self-prove their jobs, right? Karen in HR does not keep her job unless she shows that there's discrimination. So there's an incentive to show more discrimination. There's an incentive with these organizations, which are set up solely, their only job is to do civil rights claims. Their whole existence doesn't matter if there are no discriminatory acts. So we're on a slippery slope where it's like, well, there's a 1% difference in pay between men and women is considered discrimination. Like the standard for what is discriminatory has fallen so far that I think we need a complete realignment on it. And I think we do need a complete reassessment of it. But that said, California's woke laws are screwing them, because actually this law was adopted to protect gay activists, right? Back in the day. This one about political activity. It was all about that. And they never thought that it would be used by
They
conservatives.
never think through. That's the thing with authoritarianism, is it's whatever side is in power at the moment. They're short-sighted, and they can't see how, hey, if we're not in power and the people we hate are in power, could this be used against us? Yes. That's why it's not a good idea. I mean, in this case, I hope she wins. I hope she takes them to the cleaners, use the law, because I want to see if she can do it and it's within the law. Like I would love to see her make an example of them the way they tried to make an example of her.
Yes.
What does she have to get past? What is her first
So that's that was a question I didn't fully answer. So there's the complaint, which anybody can file, and then there's what's called a motion to dismiss. So there's really two things you have to have there. Number one, you have to have what's called standing. Standing really literally means the ability to stand in court. So are the parties correct? Are the claims redressable? Which means if Gina recovers, is she made whole? Is her problem fixed? Right? That's a big part of that. And then once that's number one. Number two is, does her claim have at least the basic merits? Based on the basic allegations and the facts, does her claim have merits? And not only does it have merits, right? But this thing has enough merits that they could pretty much prove the case just with what's in the complaint, right? Just that alone is enough proof to say, yep, we've got summary judgment on this. So because of that, it's going to survive this first hurdle called motion to dismiss. After a motion to dismiss is when all this probing into Disney happens. That's when Elon Musk and Gina Carano get all those emails, all the DMs. And that's what I've been saying. A win is not the jury verdict. I know it's very confusing. I know we love trials, especially us law tube lawyers and everything. We love trials and decisions because they're sexy, because you've got people in court, you got the cameras on, you got Amber, you got people. But in reality, in big boy world and big girl world, most cases are settled outside of trial. Most cases do not go to trial. This is not common, especially in a civil context, especially in a business context. It just doesn't make business sense.
Do you think Disney is going to settle?
Yeah, that's my next question. Do you think they're going to settle?
Will attempt to. I think they will attempt to. I don't think Elon and Gina have an incentive to settle until they get some receipts. Right.
Okay.
I think they want receipts.
That's all
I think
want.
that Bob fucked around, and now he's about to find out.
About to find out. Yeah.
Yeah, because he fucked around like he did with the advertising stuff. Because remember what they did on that. Yeah, I don't know if people forgot that. But when they pulled their ads from X, it was because Elon was supposed to be an anti-Semite.
Yes.
Right.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
And now who looks like an anti-Semite? Mark Hamill, Pedro Pascal, employees of the Disney Corporation. And then James Gunn, Jesus, he's even worse. I don't even want to go into that. I don't know. There's some statements I can clip them and show them to you. Well,
oh boy.
It's like not even like, it's on the edge of like what you're able to show.
But James Gunn's not really working for Disney anymore, so that doesn't really count, does it?
He was at the time.
At the time, yeah.
At the time, there was a disparate treatment.
There's also a precedent to be set there too with the whole thing with, like you guys said, even down to Carl Weathers had said very similar things to what Gina did and didn't get any guff. but Roseanne and Gina Carano were the only two fired that were not hired back. James Gunn, on the other hand, was hired back.
Weird.
Yeah, but they're both
Women, yeah.
So unfortunately, that's going to show.
Well, it's interesting. They're women that can't be controlled. That's why they're not going to fire them. That's
Very-
why
You know, and you would
vocal.
think they would like strong, independent women.
you
but
would
of
think,
course,
right?
the
like, oh,
definition,
we can't
the
control
definition
these.
of strong, independent woman is strong, independent woman that listens to their party line, which is
That's but that's
not
too
a strong
toxic.
independent woman.
That's too toxic, Andrew. A strong, independent women that don't have wrong think. That's really toxic. So people were asking asking in the chat who her lawyers are. Is this the lawyers? Like, is this the ones?
yes,
that
the
are
lawyers
listed
are at the top. They're yes, they're I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Schaefer Jaff LLP, right?
Yeah.
So that's the law firm. So
Yeah, Schaefer.
they're qualified. They're good.
Donald
I mean, I
M.
don't personally know them, but they seem to have the CV to be able to handle it. So,
There you go, guys. If you guys wanted to know who is representing them, as these guys right here, Schaefer LLP and Donald M. Falk and Gene C. Shar. So
wanna talk to
a
those
bunch of
guys.
people. So there you go.
Well, what's funny is it's Bob Chapek that might even be the one to screw Disney in the very end. I know, Andrew, you and I were kind of discussing
can
this.
we talk about this?
Please do.
So part of I'm like that yellow jacket guy with all of this. So like, here's the thing. We've had this narrative and this convenient excuse, and it's for a lot of things. I know that you guys have all been covering them. For the last year, 2 years, Iger has been able to defer every problem in Disney to Bob Chapek.
Yes.
Right? He has said
Mhm.
Bob Chapek is the one that did all these horrible things. Well, we got the one article. There was the one article in mainstream media, right, that came out and said there's disagreement between Bob and Iger, right? They weren't getting along. But what we kind of know is that Bob was still there in his office taking 2 showers a day. That's a fact, right? He never left his office.
Yeah, never.
And we know he was.
Were they showering together?
Hey,
I
it's
doubt
Hollywood,
it.
baby.
And maybe they were at first. Maybe that's why he's salty, because Bob Chapek stopped showering with him.
Oh my.
He's like, I want to take my own showers, Iger.
Damn it, I've had enough of washing your back.
Yeah. So
It's your
Uh,
turn.
So it's all gone on Chapek. And look, I'm not Chapek was no saint. Chapek was not perfect. But this blaming everything on Chapek and pretending he was not there, when a lot of the calls, particularly as it comes to Reedy Creek, when the thing that I've covered, which segues with this, is we know that Iger was the one that was shit stirring a lot of this. And he was pushing a lot of the ideological stuff because that's Iger's ideology. And he wants to project that on the entire corporation. So when he perceived Chapek as stepping away from that, he's like, get up there and undermine that motherfucker. And that's what they did with Reedy Creek. And you can see he probably was poking people on this one as well. So what I will look forward to is Iger has an excuse that this was Chapek. But if we get to discovery, which is just past that motion to dismiss, right? If we get just over this first hurdle, then we get potential proof that Iger was really controlling the Disney Corporation and Lucasfilm the entire time.
And how likely is that we get over that first hurdle?
Oh, it's I mean, we're getting there.
Guaranteed.
Baby. I mean, there's no, unless they settle, unless they accept a settlement, there's no way they don't get there. Right. I mean, that's where my prediction is 100%. We will get to that phase unless they settle. And
Wow.
and of course, by the way, someone tried to say that, oh, well, Elon's paying for this suit, so he controls it. No. We have an ethical duty to our client and our client alone. It's actually very clear in the ethical rules. So, for example, if someone's mother was paying for their criminal defense because they like broke in a car and carjacked it or whatever, the mom doesn't get to say when the lawyer gets fired or hired, right? The client does. Now, if the lawyer runs out of money, he can say, look, I'm not working for free, right? But the relationship is between attorney and client, not attorney and benefactor. And that's a sacrosanct thing for us. So if Gina says she wants to stop, they'll stop. If Gina says that, and Gina is a different person than Elon Musk, and she frankly is probably a little bit less personally engaged with Iger right now. We'll just put it that way.
And that was one of the things I was referring to.
Yeah.
But the one other thing I was referring to where Chapek could screw them is actually in the claim itself. Because as we know, Disney's big defense is going to be, well, she didn't have a contract. She technically was an employee. She wasn't really fired from anything, right? Like that's the way that they're going to try and present this.
She lost an opportunity for future.
There's all that
and she
stuff.
was also promised. She was also promised, and in California, an oral
Yes.
agreement can be enforceable. That's a big difference with California.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's put all that aside for just a minute, Andrew, because in the complaint itself, the problem you have with them trying to claim any of that, which throws us all off the table, is you have Bob Chapek himself responding to a question about firing Gina Carano in one of the earnings calls, and it's quoted in the claim. So it doesn't matter what they try to say as far as, well, she didn't have this, she didn't have that. No, he publicly said that they fired her, basically, in so many words.
Do you guys understand why we cover these earnings calls now?
Yeah.
This is why we cover them, because they say these things and you're like, wow, did you just say that? I mean, even I caught one the other day with Mexican Iron Man. We were re-reviewing it, right? And we caught one where Bob was saying, oh yeah, we're gonna like make exactly the same amount of money when we cut the cord, when we take, get away with the linear service as going to streaming. And I'm like, well, that's a lie. That's a huge lie. Right? It's not going to be exactly the same. You're definitely going to lose some money there. It's not going to be one-to-one. Why would you say that? In these statements, Bob Iger has the problem that he overpromises and underdelivers. And there's an issue there legally, especially when it comes to the earnings calls, because those are statements that you're putting out to shareholders, to people that are interested, right? And if you're making a material misrepresentation or a straight up lie, that can get you in trouble legally, including with the Gina case, right? When you're putting out information, that you can be held to account for that information you put out in that earnings call.
So, well, and I want to say, because Nina brought that up. So, Andrew,
what's up, Mike? I see Mike in the chat.
So, Andrew, do you think the fact that the president of Lucasfilm, being Kathleen Kennedy, that she had a illustration behind her one day of this artwork, Rangers of the New Republic, which it was known the star of that show was going to be one Gina Carano's Cara Dune's character. And then as soon as they fired Gina, as they did, this show immediately was canceled because the star was gone. So
that's clear.
Like a verbal agreement.
There's a clear case there, right? And that goes to damages, right? It goes to damages. That's a future damage, right? So she would have gained that revenue. What was I eating? I was eating eggs. I just finished them.
I'm sure it's Japanese something or
other. And then it's not Japanese at all. And this is oatmeal. I'm just gonna get some oatmeal in here.
Oh, wow.
My gains. No, I'm trying to be healthy, man. So I gotta unmindset the hut myself. But anyways, the damages are pretty intense, because not only was it that series, but they actually say in the complaint that she was promised a role in the Charmine Chinoy film in the future, right? So and there's an agreement there. So once again, all those things can be brought in as damages. So they've only got to prove in terms of the culpability. She said this. She said the political statement. There was some clapback for it. Some, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're responsible. All those damages flow in.
Well,
that's the beauty of this.
And I think that the other part that I guess I'm wondering about is the argument that Disney's been having this entire time. Excuse me, the Disney and the mainstream media has been having the entire time with us. Well, people like us that have been covering this situation. When we talk about that she was fired, and she still to this day calls herself and says that she was fired basically on X. That's how she found out. But everybody else,
that's what she alleges, by the way. She alleges that as well. Like she says that. So
she says that. She says that she was fired on X. That's how she found out. But then from the Disney side, their argument is that her contract was never renewed, and that she wasn't ever officially fired because they didn't have there wasn't a contract in place at the time. They just never renewed it. So how would that go to work with their argument of if she wasn't employed, technically she was never fired because at the time she wasn't technically employed?
No, that's not going to fly, because obviously she had an ongoing engagement. She had an ongoing expected engagement. The role was expected to continue as Cara Dune. Obviously, she had no expectation interest that would go on. She had oral agreements, which are enforceable as to that, right? Also, the standard for employee is broader under California law. There's a test, the ABC test, So there's.
But do you think that's the argument that Disney's going to go with? I mean, there has to be an argument that Disney's going to have to come
no,
up
no,
with.
no, no. Yeah.
The
So
fact that they made a
so-
statement about Gina and like said that she's been like isn't that?
So if you want me to like straw man or steel man Disney, like make a devil's advocate,
Please.
argument,
Well,
it.
kind of where I was coming from, pretty much. Is
they would claim that. Of course, they're going to claim that. Of course, they're going to claim she wasn't an employee at the time. Well, she wasn't an employee, so we can't terminate her if she's not. Of course, they're going to argue that. That's probably their best argument, but it's still not going to fly, right? Is what I'm saying. That argument's not going to stick. So, I think that they're going to have real trouble with somebody that was in an ongoing series that you knew what was happening. You had this, like you said, Rangers of the New Republic. You had future seasons of The Mandalorian. You had the movie, right? This was an ongoing relationship, which was expected to be ongoing. It was orally communicated to her that it was ongoing, right? And I'm sure that if we actually look at her contract, which we don't have an evidence yet, we eventually will. If we look at her contract, there probably are terms that bind her even beyond her contract term. So in terms of like exercising control, the way it looks at it, the test is even if your contract may be up, if there's some term that exercises control over you in between, let's say you've got gaps in your contract, but there's still, hey, you can't compete. You can't go out and work for anybody else. You've got to commit to doing this for future seasons. You've got to give us an option to buy in at a future season. For example, if a contract has an option, like a renewal option in the original contract, there you go. There's a lot of things that can keep this thing attached on as an employee.
Do you think that like people like Jon Favreau can be subpoenaed into basically kind of testifying for Gina, saying that yes, there was a verbal thing in order for her to carry on in her role of Cara Dune, blah blah blah?
Well, two things are they can subpoena everybody, right? Can they subpoena people? Yeah, they can subpoena everybody, right? Are they going to say that? Well, I mean, I can't promise you what Jon Favreau is going to say, but it would be in Jon Favreau's best interest not to lie, because there's going to be pretty clear evidence of this. Like, I mean, obviously Cara's agent is going to have the other half of that contract, right? So if you're trying to say like this was never sent, this promise was never made, and then Gina's side produces it, well, then you're committing perjury. So I don't think Favreau's going to get up there and like perjure.
That's not a good idea. Yeah,
that's lie on the stand for what? For Disney? Like, come on, like.
Especially now that he's like kind of had a falling out with them too. I don't think he liked how things went down, especially with Gina and everything. Because I mean, he was friends with her. I mean, a lot of these people were friends with her, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I mean, I don't know how much.
Well, I mean, Nina, beyond
Chapek has no love. I don't think he has any love for Disney and Iger.
Disney he's no love for Disney at this point.
Well, I mean, besides the fact that he liked Gina, I mean, they ruined his little universe he built. Literally, crumbled the day that she was fired, which I don't think he really had any say in. I mean, literally, he had to totally rewrite Mando season 3. He had to do away with Rangers of the New Republic. Like his whole plan just got crapped apart in one day.
That's true. That's true. Well, thank you, Andrew, for this legal, walkthrough of what's going on with Gina Carano. I'm sure we're going to have you back several times as this is going along, and just kind of like update our audience to what's going on. But this is going to be a case every one of us is going to be just kind of glued to and figuring out what's going on.
And I knew. You know what the funny thing is? These things always break when I'm sleeping, so I go to bed and I'm like, oh man, I think I'm all caught up on Disney. And then this thing drops, and I'm like, why?
Brother, I was on vacation. And I had like no access to anything. I was in court, and I was like, wait, what? What's happening?
Valiant Renegade's giving me booty calls at like 5 a.m. I'm like, come on, man. Like,
Valiant called me. Valiant called me. He's like, you want to come on the show tonight? I was like, I literally just walked in the door from being on vacation. Well, on a work trip. No, I'm not coming on the show tonight.
Wow.
Right.
Does anybody else have any questions for Andrew? Well,
I do.
Go ahead, Kara.
Do you see any possible laws being produced as an outcome of this?
That's a good question.
I think more states are going to move. That's a very good question. And if you see Florida, right? Florida actually adopted a law. And this is, I don't know whether it's been signed by the governor yet, but I know the Senate's passed it. So it's in some form of the process where now it's going to be challenged. The leftists are going to challenge it. Okay. So just understand that. Anytime a conservative state passes a law, it's going to get challenged, and oftentimes the leftist laws get challenged as well, but not always. But with Florida, they pass a law that makes it defamation to call somebody racist, sexist, transphobic, any of those ifs or phobe words, right? A bigot, without proof that they are actually that, right? So to falsely claim somebody as that. So without zero proof, they're making that included within the definition of defamation as well as false light, which is painting somebody in a false light. And I think that's a great step. I know people will think it's challenge. Oh, that's unconstitutional. No, defamation has never been covered by the First Amendment. You never have had the right to defame people ever, period. So this is just expanding the definition of defamation. The woke people don't like it, right? I think it's good. I think it's solid. I think people should need proof before you go and call people racist. That's why the Southern Poverty Law Center and all those other places are able to just get away with calling people racist and phobes and this and that. I think there needs to be a standard, because we've gone too far with letting people essentially slander others, but get away with it, because you can call somebody a racist, sexist, and that will destroy their career, right? That will destroy their career, but there's no legal punishment for that. That's messed up. That's messed up. You should not be able to, especially a large organization, should not be able to call somebody that and get away with it. It's not right.